Okay, in this video I'm going to do the Check Your Understanding 4.1 on page 22 and 4.2, which is on page 25. You should actually try to do these first and then come back and watch me do them so that you can see if you had the right idea as you were doing it. So this first one, this is 4.1. We have a piano harmonization right here. The three notes of the chord are all contained in the right hand, and all you have to do is change the notation so that the bottommost note is put in the bass clef. We want that note to be the exact same note, but written in the bass clef, and then change the direction of the stems. So watch me do this. I'm going to take the top note, that's the soprano, bring it over. The next note down is the alto. I'll just bring that over directly, but I'll change the direction of the stem to show that it's the alto, because the alto stems should go down. And this is the tenor. So instead of putting that here, that F, which notice is higher than middle C, 4 notes higher than middle C, we're going to put that in the bass clef. 4 notes higher than middle C, C, D, E, F. Make sure you write these notes correctly when you put them in the bass clef with the ledger lines. Don't put extra ledger lines, like don't put any ledger line above that. You only put ledger lines when you need them. And then the bass note, you just bring that across. Okay, so this is still close position. It's asking for close position. And what that means is the distance between the soprano and the tenor is less than an octave. We just come across and do every one the same way. So here's the B flat, and then I take the F and bring it across, put the stem down, and then I take the D, and instead of putting it in the G clef, I'm going to put it down here in the bass clef, but I want it to be the same note. Notice that's 1 note higher than middle C. Use middle C as a guidepost. So 1 note higher than middle C is right there. There's the D. And then I take the bass, which is the root of the chord, and bring it across. These Roman numerals are the same. Then I take the next chord. The B flat comes across, the G comes across, the E flat, which is 2 notes higher than middle C, is going to be placed in the bass clef. C, D, E flat. See how I write those when these are really close together like that, to see how this stem goes on the left and that one goes on the right. And this one is here. That's the 4 chord. And then here we take the A and the F, bring it across. That's middle C. See, that's middle C, but we're going to put the middle C here. And the F here. I hope you can see that the notes that I'm writing here are exactly the same notes as the notes over here. It's not going to sound any different. It's just written differently so that I've got my tenor down here in the bass clef, which is a better clef for it to read. And then the B flat, the F, the D, which is 1 note higher than middle C. I'll put it here, 1 note higher than middle C. In other words, D4, and then B flat. And that's all you have to do. Okay, so here's Check Your Understanding 4.2 on page 25. Hopefully you've already done this, and now you're going to check to see if you did it correctly. Notice on this one they want you to use open position. Open position means that the distance between the soprano and the tenor will be more than an octave. So things need to get spread out a little bit more. We're going to use that method called drop 2 that I described to you. That's where you take not the top voice, but the second to the top voice, and you bring that note down an octave and put it in the bass clef. So keep track of where this note is. That note is a B flat. It's actually a B flat 4. What you want it to be is a B flat 3, which would place it right underneath middle C. This note, you just bring it across, and this note, you just bring it across. This one's been done for you. Let's do the next one. The top note, the soprano, you just bring it across. But we're going to do drop 2. So you're going to take that note, the F, which is actually an F4, and bring it an octave lower, 8 notes lower, which would put it right there on that line. That would be F3. So I'm going to place that right here. And then the next note, which is D, that will become my alto. And then this bottom note, which is the bass, just comes across. So we're really only repositioning one note, while the other 3 notes just come straight across. And you can see what that does is it spreads out the voicing more. Some people call these spread voicings, but the technical term is open position or open spacing. All right, the third chord, the B flat comes across. The G, that's going to be the one that goes down, the drop 2, right? That G is G4, but it's going to end up right there, which is G3. And then the E flat comes across. And the E flat in the bass comes across. And we'll do the same thing with this one. The A, we don't change. That second to the top voice, we'll drop it. The F, which is F4, will become F3, which is right here. The C, we just put right where it is. And that F is going to come across. Notice it's, oh my goodness, it's the same note. But that's okay. You can put 2 singers on the same note. Just put one stem going up and one stem going down. Here's the last chord. The B flat comes across. The F is going to get dropped down. Instead of F4, it's going to be F3. Put it right there. The D is going to come across. And the B flat will come across. So there you go. You've converted close position piano voicing into open spacing chorale style. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is just do a little bit of the homework so you make sure you're on the right track with that. This is page 27. I'm going to just do the very first one here. Well, the first one's been done for you, but I'll do the second one. This is an E flat triad, and I need to do it in close spacing in 4-part chorale style. All right, so the first thing I need to know is what are the notes to an E flat major triad? Now, there's a lot of ways to do this. You just, same thing that you did in theory 1. You could build an E flat scale and just take the first, the third, and the 5th note, and that's an E flat major triad. Notice that's E flat because of the key signature, and that's B flat because of the key signature. Now another thing you can do is you can look at a keyboard. I'm going to quickly draw a keyboard here. I'll draw a couple of octaves worth of a keyboard. You should, by the way, be able to draw a keyboard. Sometimes that can come in really handy if you need to check something on a keyboard and you don't have one handy. You can just draw one. So here's my keyboard. There's E flat. And a major triad, remember, it's 4 half steps plus 3 half steps. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the G. 1, 2, 3. That's the B flat. So I did this 2 ways, with a key signature and with a keyboard. I got the same answer. The notes of that are E flat, G, and B flat. So now I can do this in close voicing. So remember, they gave me the soprano, so don't put anything higher than that. Everything's going to go below that. If it's close, you want to get them as close as possible. So start on G, start moving your pencil down, and what's the next note you get to? Well, look at that. I got to E flat. That's the closest one. So I'm going to put the E flat here, put a flat on it because it's E flat, and then I'm going to keep moving my pencil down, and the next note that I'll get to out of these 3 is B flat, actually, and that goes here. And finally, I need to put the bass note. The bass note is always whatever the chord is. So if it's an E flat chord, that's the root. We want to put the root in the bass as well. And that's how you answer that. Notice this was an A chord, so A was in the bass. In the next example, we want to do a F sharp major triad, and we want to do it in open spacing. All right, so an F sharp major triad, we can do that two different ways. We can do that with a key signature. F sharp, of course, has many sharps, 6 sharps. And then you would start on an F sharp and just do the first, the root, the third, and the fifth. And notice that in this key, all 3 of those are sharped. You can also do that on a keyboard if you want to. There's an F sharp, which is right there. Since it's a major triad, remember, if it just gives it the name, that means major. If they want it to be minor, they have to specify minor with a little m. But here we go, F sharp, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the A sharp, that's a major third. And then 1, 2, 3, that's the C sharp, that's the minor third. And that's how you build a major triad. F sharp, A sharp, C sharp. All right, now I need this to be open spacing. So watch how I do this. My 3 notes, F sharp, A sharp, C sharp. The melody is C sharp. Don't put anything above that. Take your pencil and start coming down until you find one of these 3 notes. Let me put them up here so I can see them easily. F sharp, A sharp, C sharp. I come here and I get A. Okay, I could put the A sharp there, but I want open spacing. To remember to get open spacing, you skip the closest and you keep going to the next one, which would be F sharp. That keeps things open, puts a little space between the notes. Then you put your pencil here, you keep going down until you get to the next chord tone, which would be C sharp. Of course, we've already written that. We don't need it. We're going to skip it. Keep going down below C sharp, which is middle C, and the next note I get to is A sharp. And that's the one that I'll write. Okay? And then the last thing I do is I'll put an F sharp in the bass because it's an F sharp chord. I could put that either here on the 4th line, or I could even put it as far down as this. There's a low F sharp, and that's within the range of the bass singer. So that's perfectly acceptable. I'm going to go ahead and do exercise 4.3. And the only difference here is instead of them telling you what the chord is you have to write, it gives it to you in terms of what key you're in and what Roman numeral it is. So let's try, this is number 14. It's the key of G minor, chord number 4. So always keep a piece of scrap paper near you to get these. And if you need the key of G minor, just write the key signature for G minor, which is 2 flats. Count up to 4th scale degree, 1, 2, 3, 4. Write the chord, and the key signature will give you the right notes. This, of course, is the 4 chord, which is what it asks for. The notes are C, E flat because of the key signature, and G. Now the directions tell us to write the key signature, so I'm going to go ahead and do that here, the key of G minor, which is 2 flats. I'll do it in both clefs. And I'm going to do this in close spacing. So let's take a look at what my notes are. C, E flat, and G. Those are the 3 notes of my chord. I'm going to write them here so I don't lose track of them. C, E flat, and G. I'll start with a G and start going down until I get to one of those notes. Don't put anything above the G. G, next one I get to is, oh, E flat. It's right there. Okay, then I keep going down below the E flat, so I've got a G, and I keep going down. Next one I get to is a C, middle C, but put it down here so the tenor can sing it. Okay, now I've got all 3 notes. They're in close position because they're as close as they can be. And then finally I can put in my root tone right there. Okay, the last one I'm not going to bother doing. It's really very similar, except they want open spacing. So after you figure out the notes of the chord, just make sure when you start at the top and start going down, make sure you skip a note before you write it so that it's open, the position. And the last thing I'm going to do is just get you started a little bit on page 28, in which you have to write these harmonizations. In this case, you're in a key, you're given a melody, and you're given Roman numerals. So you have to figure out what your notes are for these chords, and then you have to figure out how to space them correctly. Notice that this asks for the chords to be in close spacing. All right. In order to do this, you want to take out a piece of scrap paper so that you can figure out what your chords are in the key that you're dealing with. In this case, it's the key of F. So I write the key signature of F. It's 1 flat. And I write the chords that I'm going to need. Notice the only chords I need really are the primary chords, 1, 4, and 5. So let me just write those. The 1 chord, which is F, A, C. 2, 3, 4. The 4 chord, which is, notice there's a flat, that's B flat, D, and F. And the 5 chord, which is C, E, and G. So now I know what notes I need for these 3 chords. I can come up here and perhaps when I see the 1 chord, I know that's F, A, C. When I see the 4 chord, I know that's B flat, D, F. And when I see the 5 chord, I know that's G, C, E, G. So for each of these chords, I can start at the top. Let's start with this one. It's a 1 chord, so it's F, A, C. The note I see is A. I put my pencil on the A and I start going down. The next note of those 3 that I see is F. And I'm going to put it right there, as close as possible, because it is close spacing. Then I keep going down from the F, and the next note I get to is C, but let's put it down here so that the tenor can sing it. And then, of course, I put my bass note in. So you can see how that works. Let me do just one more. Here's the B flat, D, F, because that's the 4 chord. The melody is B flat. Don't put anything above it. That's the melody. Come down until you get the next one of these notes, and you'll see there's an F, which you can put right there. Put your pencil on that, keep going down. The next one you get to is D, which is right there, but put it down here. That's D above middle C, so make sure you put it above middle C. And since it's a B flat chord, put B flat in the bass. Okay. For the next one, it's pretty much the same, except it's asking you to do these in open spacing. So I'll do this, just the first one for you. This is the key of A. It's really important that you figure out what key you're in. The key signature tells me it's the key of A. It's a 1 chord. So I'm going to go ahead and make myself a nice little chart of the key of A. And just write the 1 chord, the 4 chord, and the 5 chord. I only need 3 chords. 1, the 4, and the 5. I take a look at my key signature. I notice that that is a C sharp from the key signature. That's an F sharp from the key signature. That's a G sharp. So the 1 chord is A, C sharp, E. The 4 chord is D, F sharp, and A. And the 5 chord is E, G sharp, and B. So I'm going to just do one of these Here's the 5 chord. E, G sharp, and B. And it's open voicing, so watch this. I put my pencil on the top note, which is E. I keep coming down until I get to one of the notes, which would be a B, but skip it. Keep going, and then I get to G sharp. I don't have to write the sharp on there because the key signature is telling me that it's sharp. Then I come down until I get to the next note, which is an E. Skip it. Keep coming down until I get to the next note, which would be the B below middle C, and write it, but do it down here in the bass clef. And then put in your bass tone. And that's it. That's how you would complete that all the way across. Now, for this last exercise, it's a mixture of open and close spacing. So do this one just like you've been doing up above. Notice this is the key of B flat with 2 flats. Figure out these chords in the key of B flat. Write them in open spacing. Keep them in open spacing all the way until you get to this chord right here. And then start writing these in close spacing all the way across. And that's it.